time to go from simply recruiting on social media to social recruiting. Nearly 5 million people use social media today. I'm pretty sure a fair amount of this lot has been using social media for both hiring and finding their next job. Obviously, we all know LinkedIn to be perhaps the key social media when it comes to hiring and job searching. But what about the other social media? And what about leveraging social media more widely than just recruiters posting jobs and employees resharing job post links that never reach nor convert anyone? In today's Building a Modern Employer Brand podcast episode, we will discuss why it's time to move forward from simply just recruiting on social media to social recruiting. My name is Susanna Rantanen and I coach and consult branding, marketing and communications for HR folks such as recruiters, talent acquisition and employer branding professionals. So let's get started with today's episode. Let's clarify first, what is the difference between recruiting on social media and social recruiting? Because there is a difference and you need to know about it. It's not immediately obvious, and if you Google social recruiting, you get all the wrong answers. You get answers that are actually about recruiting on social media, not about social recruiting. So I think it's time to clarify the difference. When we talk about recruiting on social media, when we are recruiting on social media, what we're doing is actually posting, sharing, and advertising our vacancies on social media, such as LinkedIn and Facebook. We can be running organic and paid recruitment campaigns on our company accounts on social media to build awareness for the role and the recruitment process. We are sharing job posts that has been posted on our employers' brand accounts, and we're resharing those as employees to our own networks and contacts. And we may be talking about the vacancy when we hire for it. If I'm hiring as a manager, I might be posting a couple of posts just to let my audience know that, hey, I'm hiring. Take a look at this job post if you are such and such person, such and such profile. And that's really great that we are doing this. This is really great. I'm not saying that. And if that's all you can do, just keep doing it because there's no harm done. Actually, it's very beneficial. But it's not as beneficial as if you were socially recruiting. Social recruiting is more strategic. And I know you might hate that word. It sounds like a lot of work, but strategic doesn't have to be more hard work. But what it does deliver is more results, better results. Because social recruiting, being more strategic, has an intent to, in addition to obviously talk about your jobs and your career opportunities, to actually build and connect with relevant talent networks. What that means is that you're kind of building your own talent pool online, but not just you as a recruiter or your company account, your company profile on LinkedIn, but hiring managers as well. And with social recruiting, you want to bring awareness to the fact that your company in general is growing and hiring a lot, because a lot of your managers, your recruiters, your people are talking about your recruiting processes, your company culture, presenting their new colleagues, sharing news that, hey, I started in this company and this is what I do. And these are my experiences so far as a new employee. So social recruiting supports all hiring to your business or those teams and divisions that your hiring manager are representing. And social recruiting pursues receiving inbound recruitment leads. So when recruiting on social is pretty much about a specific vacancy, a specific recruitment campaign with the specific sort of attention to getting applicants for that specific recruitment. That's a lot of specific use of a specific word, but being specific about this. So recruiting on social media is specifically about one vacancy, when a social recruiting is kind of leveraging social media as, you know, the organization, as lots of people in the organization. It's very similar to employee advocacy, but with the focus on supporting all hiring to your business and building those valuable talent networks. I know, and probably your hiring managers also wish that you guys had your own talent pool. But I find that building a CV bank is not really relevant these days. Building CV banks easily leads to, bad or negative candidate experiences, because if somebody sends your CV to you, they kind of expect you to do something about it immediately. But when you're actually building your networks and your connections with your relevant target talent audiences on LinkedIn, for example, those networks, that talent pool is kind of up to date all the time. So you're not kind of wasting anyone's time, but you're connecting with people. You're not promising anything, but you're building relationships and making them known that and aware that your company is hiring and growing. And I think especially now we are living in end of May 2023, where there's the serious threat of a global recession, inflation, all this. So a lot of companies are laying off. So especially during times like these, it's really important to kind of get the message out there that despite of what's going around in many other industries, or for example, within our competitors, we are hiring, we are growing. So that's kind of one of the, or some of the great benefits of social recruiting, which is not really the same as recruiting on social media. That's what I want to tell you. So while social recruiting is not employer branding, I have to say that it easily connects with my method, the magnetic employer branding method, on building the modern employer brand. I guess the difference is that building the modern employer brand is targeted for to be used by HR, marketing, communications, and the employer branding team, whereas social recruiting is more of the, lots of people in the organization doing social recruiting. It also ties very well together with the instant employer brand accelerator method for talent acquisition, which you probably have heard from me talking about. This is a 12-week coaching program at my agency, employer branding agency, Emine, where we guide in a structured manner in-house recruiters to revamp their recruitment processes, incorporate employer branding within their recruitment marketing process. But the difference here between social recruiting and the Instant Employer Brand Accelerator program is that this method is built for in-house recruiters who don't have the support of the resources for company-wide employer branding and need to take matters in their own hands. Ties in very well with that and has very similar sort of practicalities as well. Social recruiting is also close to what I spoke about last week, using corporate employer brand influencers to spread the word. Now, the difference is that social recruiting is talent acquisition intensive, whereas corporate employer brand influencer programs focus on building thought leadership and influence by socially active and connected employees, which is why I like to incorporate these two together. I think I've confused you enough, so it's time for me to kind of take a little breather and help you to wrap up what are the commonalities between these methods that I've spoken about with social recruiting. Both corporate employer brand influencer program and social recruiting rely a lot on a diverse group of active employees speaking on their own and the company's behalf about their experiences, about their sharing their thoughts, their insight, and building valuable connections that help them professionally. So if you're a corporate employer brand influencer, you may want to build connections that help you grow your professional career, professionally grow, help you to reach your current professional goals and targets for your work. Social recruiting also relies on diverse group of active employees, socially recruiting their peers in other organizations to start follow them, to connect with them, to start follow their organization. Now, when we talk about modern employer branding, this is what I teach. This is what I speak for. This is what I develop. This is what my employer branding agency Emine does. So modern employer branding and social recruiting, both of these generate inbound leads and build relationships with relevant target talent audiences. And then we'll talk about the Instant Employer Brand Accelerator program and social recruiting. Both of those leverage social media and content to convert relevant job seekers into candidates and new employees. So there's a lot of commonalities between social recruiting and these services and the ways we do and use content and social media for telemarketing purposes. Now, growing your talent networks and connections is key in social recruiting. It's not just about going on LinkedIn or any other social media to sort of sporadically post content, reshare content, and comment on other people's posts. So when a recruitment campaign on social media leans on a lot on a one-way communication and promotion of the job opportunity, social recruiting is much more than that. So it aims to get more out of the time spent by HR, recruiters, and other key employees in regards to recruiting, as well as managers on social media. An important part of social recruiting is growing those networks and connections online with relevant target audience members and stakeholders. So instead of building a CV bank on a separate platform on your recruitment system, you want to build these networks and connections online, specifically with relevant target audience members who you hire, who your company hires, and other stakeholders. Usually, employees, including managers and HR, grow their own personal connections and networks, for example, on LinkedIn. For example, HR people might connect with other HR people, other recruiters, interesting employers to them. Some people might end up following the company too. And this is exactly what should be proposed and encouraged by each socially recruiting employee to kind of leverage the benefit also towards the socially recruiting employer, the company. But because the most effective content combines career growth posts and other what we know as kind of thought leadership posts, people also end up attracting and growing their own personal networks, which is very important because if you invest time on social media to help your company, help your employer, or help your manager to socially recruit, you also want to benefit something from that for yourself. And this is why it's important to allow and accept social recruiting, the time spent on it, because as long as the people work for your business, you as the business benefit from it. So I found this IBM study that I didn't find the IBM study. I read a podcast, or was it a blog post episode by a fellow content writer, Neil Schaefer, and he had used an IBM study as a source for some very interesting employee advocacy statistics. So he wrote that leads developed through employee advocacy convert 7 times more frequently than other leads. So it's very important to understand the power of social recruiting, thought leadership, which is all those are employee advocacy. But when we use the term employee advocacy, I think our minds think of kind of actions and behavior that are not very engaging or result-oriented. So I'd rather not talk about employee advocacy. So furthermore, I found another social toaster blog post that has more data that is very beneficial for us. So in this blog post, also, I'll share the link with you on the show notes page. 54% of people trust a regular employee sharing content, posting, talking about company stuff over the CEO or the official company channel. 68% trust a company technical expert more. 86% of employees involved in various employee advocacy programs like social recruiting, like corporate employee brand influencing, say that it has had a positive impact on their personal career. And your brand's message goes 561% further when shared by your employees compared to when shared via your own official business channels. So that's something really to consider. Now, who should you connect with when it comes to social recruiting? So let's say that you're hiring your company hires software engineers and digital marketers. So in addition to connecting obviously directly with software engineers and digital marketers from the company account and your recruiter account or HR account, I mean your personal profile, you also want to connect with other in-house recruiters, recruitment consultancies who also hire for these similar roles. You want to connect with company profiles, companies of all sizes, which are also hiring for these roles and very similar roles. Industry thought leaders that are talking about topics of relevancy and interest to people in these roles. You want to connect with students and young professionals whom you could hire for these roles one day. And you also want to talk to or connect with over-experienced people for these roles, because they probably know people who are down the line growing, towards these roles or currently working in these roles. Maybe they might be team managers for people like that, or used to be. People in the same role as you in companies who also hire software engineers and digital marketers. Because not only can you learn a lot from a more diverse network of people who still link with the people that you need to attract, when you consistently engage with their posts, your target audience will eventually see your posts too. So their followers who engage with those posts as well will eventually see your posts too. So that's how the algorithm works. So that's why you want to connect with a more diverse set of people. Let's summarize this episode and talk about from posting job ads on social media to generating recruitment leads and building the employee brand on social media. As said, the social recruiting is a process of leveraging social media platforms to increase the closing with candidates and generate also recruitment leads. Social recruiters can be anyone from your organization. They don't need to have anything to do with recruiting or take part in your recruiting process. They're kind of like, when you go to south of Europe to like a holiday destination, and outside all of the bars and the nightclubs, you have people who work as a recruiter because they're recruiting vacationers to come to that nightclub or that bar. So think of your employees, and when I say employees, I don't mean just regular employees, I mean also managers. Think about anyone in your organization as kind of like a social recruiter like that. They are trying to pull in people to pay attention to your organization through your people, via your people, so that they can get to know your organization better and understand that you are actually hiring people like them. That's why you benefit when you have a diverse group of company employees from different backgrounds, in different roles and different levels of responsibility, because the larger impact social recruiting will generate for the company, the more diverse group of social recruiters you have participating in this. At the minimum, your hiring managers, your division leads, and recruiters should all contribute to social recruiting from their own LinkedIn profiles. Your employees working as social recruiters use their networks on platforms like LinkedIn, could be Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, to connect with people like them who could be your potential job seekers. They understand their needs better because they are like them. And they build relationships, connections. When they're actively given and regularly given time to go on social media, to listen, to engage in conversation, and sort of return the information that they learn with recruiters, for example, or the hiring managers, they provide you value and they help establish trust in your company, in your organization, as a potential place of work, which can lead to increased talent acquisition opportunities. So the key to successful social recruiting is in creating those meaningful connections that add value for those connections, those people themselves, your employees taking part in social recruiting, as well as your organization. Another element of social recruiting is using insights from their personal profiles to better understand what kind of works with their audience and interests, which is information that you can't have access to because it's behind their own personal profiles. So that's why it's best to organize these in some sort of or form of a program where these people participate. And like I talked about last week on the episode 144 about corporate employer brand influencers, you need to have the win-win situation. So you have to give your corporate influencers, whether they work as or contribute to thought leadership, employer branding, or social recruiting, you have to reward them for the value that they deliver. So when you work with them in some shape or form, like a systematic shape or form, you also get to share insights and talk about what works and what doesn't. So that's very valuable for you to know, that we're not working sort of our eyes blindfolded. Now, in addition to building strong talent connections and relationships, especially managers who hire contributing as social recruiters can leverage their networks to gain also new customers and expand their reach. When we network on social media, social recruiters are able to create more leads that they can eventually be converted into candidates, even sales. I mean, I've done this kind of work, kind of a combination of branding myself, thought leadership, social recruiting, employer branding our business, building my networks and connections online for way over a decade. And I do the same stuff in a way that it appeals to all of my relevant target audiences. I get hiring leads, I get sales, I get inbound meeting requests, I get inbound offers for speaking engagements, various sorts of things through this type of work, this type of use of social media. I've never had to spend a lot of money for advertising my agency services. I might have spent like a 10 euro or 30 euro here and there on Instagram or something like that. But literally, I've always hired through social recruiting and employer branding, but I haven't specifically said that this is employer branding and this is, branding myself and this is thought leadership and this is me sort of marketing for our clients or potential clients. I go to social media being me, sharing my thoughts, sharing first ideas, educating, or creating valuable educational content for my audiences. And this benefits us in sales and in hiring. And with this kind of work, I've sold more than 4 million euros worth of our services. That's got to tell you something. And we're always been a micro agency because I'm not into growing a huge company in terms of number of employees, because being a leader takes a lot of time. I'm so into educating, doing this work myself, developing this industry, writing, creating content, teaching, speaking, kind of sharing my voice and my message, that I would rather spend time on that. So we use quite a fair bit of freelancers to help us in our client projects. So currently we only hire one person, full time. So over 4 million in sales for a little company like ours in an industry that hasn't really been active globally for more than 2 years. And we've been operating for 11 years, 10 and a half years. I would say that's pretty good. I'm recommending, my key message on this is, I recommend you to consider these activities because it's very beneficial for you as a person and for your work and for the organization that you work for. My question to you is, did you get confused between corporate employer brand influencers, employee advocates, social recruiters, social recruiting, talent marketing, employer branding, and all these terms that I keep throwing? Because if you do, let me know, because there's a lot when you share ideas and suggestions that are not common practices. So allow me to talk more or be more clear. I also want to ask you, what are your thoughts about social recruiting? Could a more strategic way to get various employees on board to help generate recruitment leads for your company help your business? Or is it that you prefer to recruit like you've done before and focus on employer branding as a separate strategy? Because that's also cool. These are all alternatives to each other. They're not replacements. There are different strategies that it's valuable for you to know about deep enough, thoroughly enough, so that you can make a decision which type of strategy helps your organization the most. They also, the choice of a strategy depends also what size your company is, how mature you are with different areas, how much you hire, how many people you have who could actively contribute to this. It depends on your budgets, your internal practices, habits, your culture, your rules, your values, and so on. I guess my key message here is that the modern approach to talent marketing, be it employer branding, recruitment marketing, employee advocacy, even collaborating with external employer brand influencers, are only the beginning to how we can leverage branding, marketing, and communication in HR, internally and externally. And I want to be your coach and your partner in doing so. All right. That's all for this week, my friends. I want you to connect with me on social. I welcome you to connect with me on social. So don't hesitate to DM me if you're looking for a coach or an employer branding agency partner. And as always, you can find the written version with supporting links on modernemployerbrand.com/podcast145. My name is Susanna Rantanen, and I have an announcement to make you. After this episode 145, I'm going to take a break from podcasting. Now, I'm going to take a longer holiday over the summer, and I'm going to try to get back to writing my book because it has been on hold for many months now. And doing this podcast, marketing it, recording it, everything takes literally 8 to 10 hours every single week of my time. So if I can take a little break from this, I'm able to invest that 10 hours trying to get myself back on writing a flow with the book, because I know you'll appreciate the book eventually, but only if I get it done. I'll be back after the summer holidays sometime towards mid-end of August. I don't know yet, depends how massively I get into writing the book. And if I don't get into writing the book at all, which is also a possibility because I can get that way during my summer holidays, then I might just start podcasting earlier. But I'm still going to be somewhat active on social media during my summer vacation. So just, connect with me and see you soon. My name is Susanna Rantanen, as said, and I teach and coach and consult employer branding, marketing, and communications for you guys who are recruiters, talent acquisition, employer branding professionals, personal development coaches who want to build a successful life, a successful career, learning how to use marketing, communications, and branding in more effective ways, who want to become more business savvy and get a good life. Thanks for listening. Until next time.